Welcome to the What Now Movement Virtual Business Summit. I am Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. I'm the author of The Discipline of Now, and I am the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast.
And I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, educator, author, publisher, and host of the I Am Dr. Sharon Show.
And I am Ted Fells, President and CEO of New Core Vision and also co-host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast.
So let's talk about why we, as the founders, decided to start this movement. So this pandemic has impacted you. It may have impacted your business, changed your business. It may have changed your job situation. It may have changed your situation at home. The question is, what now? That's the question. So we decided to put this movement together with the mission of building high-performance entrepreneurs, high-performance authors, and career professionals who are ready to deal with life's unexpected curveballs. Because here's the thing, this pandemic will pass, but there's going to be another crisis down the road, and we need to be able to adapt and prepare. And that's really the whole point of this movement. You can see our vision, you can see our mission, and we're aligned on these core values to build, to create, and to innovate. And this is all about community. We want to form a community where we can all collaborate and share these ideas and pool our resources and ultimately equip ourselves to take it to the next level, and again, to be prepared for those unexpected curveballs.
Absolutely. And we have a dynamic lineup for you today. We are packed from 10 until 3 p.m. today. And so we hope that you join us. We're going to kick it off with none other than Ash Shukla. His title session is Becoming a Pandemic-Proof Entrepreneur. He will present in between 10:15 and 10:45. He will be taking your questions at the end of his presentation. You certainly do not want to miss this. And next, we are followed by Matthew Horn. What do you mean you're bored? Write a book. Oh my goodness. Author and publisher Matthew Horn will be giving us some tips on writing and publishing. His session is scheduled from 10:45 until 11:15. Our first panel, we have two dynamic panels today. The first one entitled Adjusting to the New Normal, Business Pivots panel discussion. We have business owners, entrepreneurs who have had to adjust and some who have adjusted earlier so that they can make sure that their business sustains. We have husband and wife duo, Antonio and Martina Turner. We also have Marquessa Petway, Gina Young, and Sonia Powers-Waddell. So you certainly do not want to miss this panel discussion. It will be from 11:15 to 12:15. Our afternoon lineup does not disappoint. We have presenter Mary Abbajay. Her title is How to Advance in Your Job in a New Virtual World. Author, speaker, she's going to let you know how to manage up. Our second panel is mental health, and we know that health is certainly our wealth. These individuals will come to you, Andrea Lopez, April Lewis, Kim LaMontagne, and Sharon Lawrence, on mental health and what we need to do to make sure that we're keeping our mind healthy. Attorney Elsa W. Smith. She's going to present 8 tips for estate planning for business owners. I tell you, you know that this is an important topic and you certainly do not want to miss it. We're going to end up with Ms. Angela Floyd, enrolled agent and partner of Intelligent Tax Solution. Her session is entitled Business and Personal Finance. She's going to walk us through some dynamic tips on how to keep our business and personal finances above waters.
As you've heard, we have an exciting, jam-packed day. We're excited about you all being here. We want you not only to participate in the summit by asking questions during the session and even at the end if you'd like. But we want you to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We have at What Now Movement on Facebook, the What Now Movement in LinkedIn, and at the What Now Movement in Instagram, as well as our website, which is www.thewhatnowmovement.com. We appreciate you all taking this time out to support, to join today and to be a part of the movement.
We are now ready for our next presenter. She is Mary Abbajay.
So she is the author of the best-selling book, Managing Up: How to Move Up, Win at Work, and Succeed with Any Type of Boss. And she's the president of Career Stone Group LLC, a full-service organizational and leadership development consultancy that delivers leading-edge talent and organizational development solutions to businesses and government. She's a sought-after author, speaker, consultant, and trainer. Mary helps her clients develop the strategies and skills and sensibilities needed for success in the 21st century. Her expertise lies in helping clients create dynamic and productive workplaces that foster professional and personal excellence and growth. In short, she is committed to creating workplaces where both the organization and the individual can flourish. Please join me in welcoming Mary Abbajay.
Hey, everybody. I am so delighted to be here. Dr. Sharon, always a pleasure and an honor to be with you. Eric, always cool to see you as well. So my name is Mary Abbajay, and today I'm going to talk about strategies for you to advance in your job during a virtual working environment. So this session is going to be fast. It's going to be furious. I'm going to just jam pack it with practical tips and techniques and ideas and strategies so that you can succeed right now in this virtual environment that we're all a part of right now. So I'm going to share a couple of slides with you. So let's make this happen. Bam. All right, so that's me. That's my book. We're going to talk. Here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 3 major strategies that you can do right now to advance in your job. 1, we're going to talk about the importance of managing up, managing down, and managing across. We're going to talk about what it is and how you do it and why you need to do it. Number 2, we're going to touch on how you need to shape and embody your personal brand. Right now is the perfect time to really be thinking about your personal brand. And you know how we're going to end our time today? Talking about time management. So I love that everyone on their earlier panel talked about the importance of time management, because I'm going to give you a couple really quick tips to make sure that you are managing your time and your time isn't managing you. So let's talk first about managing up. And when I say managing up, I really mean managing up, managing down, managing across. And what managing up really is, it's about consciously working with the people above us in the food chain or to the side of us or below us so that we can be successful, they can be successful, and the organization can be successful. So when you think about managing up or managing across, I don't want you to think about it being sucking up. It is not about sucking up. It's not about being a sycophant. It's not about kissing someone's behind or licking their boots. It's really about building really robust working relationships with the people with whom you work so that you can succeed, they can succeed, and the organization can succeed. Even when these people are difficult, even when they're a pain in the you-know-what, even when they're wrong about how they go about doing things, it's about understanding how we can manage the relationships that manage most to advance our career. So this is a big reason why we need to do this, because whether we like it or not, our bosses and our colleagues, they matter, right? They have a lot of influence over our career trajectory. They have a lot of influence over our ability to succeed on projects. Your boss, for example, has a lot of influence over what kind of projects you get to work on, a lot of influence over the teams you're a part of, your visibility in the organization or in your industry, right? So these relationships matter. We don't work in silos. The second thing that matters is that your careers matter. Everyone on this telecast has a career that they need to own, and we have to take an active role in managing our career path, our career trajectory and our career success, however you define success. So if your career matters to you and part of your success means building robust relationships with the people with whom you work, then it's on us to figure out how we can do that. Because at the end of the day, as much as we wish it weren't true, we can't change other people, right? We wish that we could. We can't control how they interact. We can't control their behavior or their choices. All we can do is control how we choose to interact, our reactions, our actions, and our interactions. And what happens is most of us kind of like the way we operate, right? Some of you have noticed I like to talk really fast. I'm a fast talker, which for some people they're going to love, and some people they're going to wish I would talk slower. But I always wish people could just listen faster, because that means I could just be who I am. And so when we're working with people who work differently than us, it's really about understanding what we can do a little more of, a little differently, a little less of, in order to interact better with them to build that relationship. So it takes us out of our own preferences and it helps us try to learn what preferences of other people are. It's kind of like the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule. So the golden rule says we should treat people as we want to be treated. And while that is a really lovely way to start, if people have different operating preferences, what you want to do is find out how they like to operate, which is the platinum rule. Find out how your colleagues prefer to operate in the workplace, or your boss especially, and figure out ways that you can align your working style to their style, your communication style to their style, so that you can have a robust relationship that works for you, for them, and for the organization. So the truth about bosses, and I'm not going to lie to you, is that sometimes they're kind of crappy. Sometimes they kind of suck at being bosses. And it's not necessarily because they're bad people. They just may not be good at being a boss. 75% of Americans say that their boss is the worst part of their day. How many of you have had a boss that was the worst part of your day? How many of you have one now, right? This happens. And it's not so much that these are bad people, but what happens in America is we tend to promote people based on their technical skills, their ability to do a job, an individual job, and then we think, oh, well, they'll be a good manager. So let's say you're really good at sales. Well, congratulations, you're now vice president of sales. Let's say you can add numbers really well. Well, congratulations, chief financial officer. Or let's say that you write really well. Well, you have now been promoted to director of public relations. And so we promote people based on these technical skills without any real realization or understanding of whether they have the aptitude or the acumen or even the desire to manage other people, the people side. And this is another thing that happens. In most organizations, the only way up, the only way to further your career is through leadership, is through management, is through being a supervisor. And I'm sure if you are like me, you have met many managers and supervisors that didn't even want to be a manager. They don't like it, but it's their only way to advance their career. And then the third thing that happens is we don't actually teach people how to be good managers or supervisors or bosses until after they've after they've been a boss or a manager for upwards of 10 years. Harvard just did a study on this, and they discovered that most people get their first taste of being a manager in their late 20s, but they don't learn how to do it until their 30s. 75% of managers in another recent survey said that they wish they had gotten more training before they became managers. And the last thing that's going on right now is that most people don't know how to do this remotely. Most managers aren't used to managing remotely, and so now they are unskilled in it, and they're unaware as to how to do it. We recently did a survey with our clients, and we found 73% of our managers did not have the experience to manage virtually, and they were worried about their ability to do it. So this means at work right now, you're going to have a spectrum of experience. And this goes for colleagues as well, for people who work for you. On the one hand, you may have bosses and colleagues who are really good at this virtual stuff, who are really good at connecting and collaborating virtually. On the way other side of the spectrum, you may have someone who is terrible at it. They're a nightmare, they're toxic, they're awful. And these people are never going to get better, right? So if you have the people who are really good at it, you're good to go. If you have people that are really, really horrible at it and they're toxic, there's probably not a lot you can do to thrive, but you can survive it. But in the middle is where the art and the heart of managing up, managing down, and managing across comes from. And this is when you find people more or less good at it, more or less skilled at it, more or less in alignment with how you work. And this is really where we want to focus our time when we're trying to manage up. When people are more or less easy to work with, kind of difficult, really difficult, but not truly terrible. So this is where managing up lives for us. Now, In order to do it, it's actually very simple. You really just have to take a good assessment of who your boss or your colleague or your employees are. What are their work styles? What are their preferences? What are their priorities? What are their pet peeves? What are their communication styles? Are they introverts? Are they extroverts? Do they like a lot of detail? Do they want to be checked in with a lot? Do they have a need to micromanage, or are they more hands off? Really pay attention. Also, what are their priorities? What's really important to them? What are their goals? What are their boss's goals? Like, what are the goals of your organization? Pay attention to what other people's priorities are. And finally, make sure you learn what people's pet peeves are, right? Because you don't want to be the person that's constantly annoying someone with a pet peeve. So find out what really annoys them and where their challenges are about working virtually. Then, of course, you have to take a look at who you are. How do you operate? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your preferences with working virtually? What are you good at? What are you not good at? What are your own career goals and priorities? What are your pet peeves? How do you want to operate? And then once you take a look at who your boss really is and what your boss or your colleagues really want or need, and then you take a look at who you really are and what your preferences are and what you really want or you really need, then you get to assess the gap. And in that gap, you then get to choose, and you really do get to choose how you may want to approach the situation differently. What are things you could do a little less of, a little more of, a little differently in order to really build those robust relationships that are going to help you advance your career? It's simple, but it's not easy. For example, I am an introvert, which means I am happy as a clam during the lockdown. I mean, I'm not happy that people are sick and dying, but I'm happy that I don't have to leave my house, right? But as a boss, I have to realize that most of my team are extroverts. So it's really taken a lot more energy and taken me out of my preferred comfort zone to be much more proactive about reaching out with them, much more proactive about engaging with them. I'm on Zoom meetings all day long, right? Which is not necessarily my preference, but it's what I have to do now to manage those relationships. So that's it in general. Now I'm going to give you some specific tips for managing up virtually. So these are regardless of personality and preference types. I want to give you some hardcore, simple strategies that will help you advance your career with your colleagues and your boss during a virtual workplace. One tip is to this: stay connected and keep them in the loop. I highly recommend that you connect and check in with your boss every single day. Even if it's just a quick email or a quick phone call or a quick Zoom meeting, make sure you are staying on their radar. If your boss is like me and not very good at reaching out, that's okay. You be proactive. You want to make sure that boss knows that you are a go-to person, you're on the job, and you're getting stuff done. So keep them updated on your progress. Keep them updated on your projects. Make sure they know how productive and valuable you are. Don't assume that they know this. Keep checking in, stay on their radar, keep building relationships. The other thing that you want to do is you want to be very transparent and available at the same time. So I want you to be transparent with things like work schedules. What are your time boundaries and your constraints? And I mean this because I know many millions of people right now are trying to work virtually while their kids are home, they're homeschooling, they have childcare, they're cohabitating with other adults, there's limited space, limited resources in many of our homes. And so we have to really figure out how we're going to make that work. So I highly recommend you negotiate where needed. If you need to take chunks of time off during the day, have that conversation with your boss. Negotiate a flexible schedule so that you can still be productive and still take care of your home and your family responsibilities. This might mean doing an updated calendar every day, making sure that your boss knows when you are available. And when you are available, make sure you are available. So this might mean saying to your boss, you know, I'm going to work 9 to 11, and then I'm going to work 1 to 4, and then maybe 6 to 7, or whatever that is. If you need to reach me during times where I am off with the kids, you know, or whatever you're doing, then say, text me if you need me. But whatever your communication channel is that you tell your boss to reach you by, then make sure you are monitoring that channel and that you're giving as speedy response as possible. Even if the response is, got it, take care of that as soon as I'm back online. It is about building trust. We know before we went into this pandemic, we know that 75% of managers were resistant and suspicious of telework. So you need to build trust with your manager to make sure that they know that you are on the job, you are working, and you are being productive. even if you were having a flexible schedule. So do the best you can to negotiate, being transparent and being available. The other thing I want you to do right now is to seek feedback and take initiative. So since you're going to be checking in with your boss daily and your colleagues, I also want you to check in maybe weekly or every other week and check in around the process of working virtually. Take a few minutes to have a conversation with your boss where you say, how is this working for you? How is this working for your teammates? Use a plus delta. And a plus delta is a simple exercise where you'll say, like, what's working well with our virtual work? What's working well with our virtual engagement? And you name the things that are working well. And then you name the delta. What are some things we could do differently? Some things we could do more of or less of to work better together in this virtual environment. The other thing about this time is it's really a great time, as all of our panelists have just said before us, is to really take initiative. Be entrepreneurial within your job. Find things that are broken and fix them. Find better ways to reach out to your clients. Find better ways to serve your customers. Be the person that's going to become the new Zoom queen in your office. Learn a new skill. Learn something that really makes you valuable and makes you the person that when we all come back to work, your boss is like, I remember when you did that. That was great. It's really a great time. Nothing like disruption or crises to really be innovative and tap into your creative spirit. And finally, my last tip on managing up, down, across is to be supportive and stay positive. Your boss might really suck at being a virtual manager. You know what? They may be doing the best they can. So find the grace in yourself that allows you to have a little empathy, that allows you to check in with your boss and your colleagues to see where you can help. And stay positive. Nobody wants a Debbie Downer. Nobody wants to work with someone who's like, wah, 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 the sky is falling. My husband, the sky is falling. Like, I have to avoid him like the plague because every day he just like meets me for lunch in our kitchen and just reads to me off the awful news about COVID every day. I literally had to tell him to shut his pie hole. It was driving me crazy. So don't be that person. Be the positive person. And finally, if you don't know what your participants like or what your what your colleagues like, have the conversation. And if you email me at the end of this and you'll get my information, I'll give you a whole conversation template that you can have with your boss and your colleagues. And if you are a boss, you should be having this conversation with your people to understand what they need to do to be successful in this virtual environment. So that is managing up and across in a virtual environment. The next thing I want to touch on is how to shape and embody your personal brand. Again, advancing in our career means we all have to have a brand, and we have to make sure that we are always building and embodying our brand. And making a brand up is really as simple as thinking about this. What are the adjectives that you want people to associate with you? What do you want to be known for? What are the skills and talents and knowledge that you want to be known for? What impressions do you want to make on people? What do you want people to say about you when you're not in the room? That is your brand. So start, if you've never done this before, take some time today or tomorrow and really write down what your brand is. What do you want to be known for? One of my brand attributes is high energy, and it's like, oh, I guess it is. And I know that because people tell me that. So if you don't know what your brand is, reach out to some close friends and say, what 5 adjectives would you use to describe me? Reach out to your colleagues. What am I known for around the office? And make sure that you are building the brand that you want to build and that you are living the brand that you have said is your brand. Because that's another thing. You got to apply your behaviors to your brand attributes. A couple of things on building a brand virtually. Number one, when you are doing video meetings or video presentations, please remember, people, it is a visual medium. So you want to make sure that you are presenting yourself outwardly as effectively as possible. And I know that old adage, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but people do. So remember, this is part of your brand. What do people see when they see you virtually? Poor visuals are going to cause people to disengage. They're going to cause people not to really pay attention to you. So you want to make sure that when you're working virtually that you're having a good visuals. A couple of tips on that. If I can get my screen to move. 1, remember, you're on the camera. So smile, like make sure you are paying attention to the camera. Pay attention to your lighting. You need to have front lighting, not back lighting, front lighting so people can see your face. Make sure you're using appropriate backgrounds. You can do a virtual one like my logo or some nice place in your house that looks clean and tidy. Please don't do virtual meetings in your bedrooms if you can't help it. I can't tell you the number of meetings I've been on where someone is sitting on an unmade bed. I was doing a webinar for this group the other day, and someone was literally doing it from their bathroom. And I had to text him. I said, dude, you're in your bathroom. Turn off your camera. Make sure you are dressed appropriately. Again, you want to look like you are a high-end professional. You want to sit up straight. You want to, or stand up. I'm standing up right now, looking into the camera. When you're on video meetings, make sure you're turning off your alerts and the emails, minimizing your distractions, camera at eye level. I cannot say this enough. And look into the camera. Sometimes we need to turn off our self-view so we're not looking at ourselves all the time. But if you're looking in the camera, that imitates eye contact. Like Dr. Sharon and Eric are doing that beautifully throughout this entire webinar. They're looking into the camera. Feels like we're close to them. And the last thing is, you want to be close to your camera, but you don't want to be too close. Like, you don't want to be a disembodied head, but you don't want to be so far away people can't see your facial expressions. So remember, it's a visual medium. Smile. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about, we're going to have just enough time and they'll have time for questions, is managing your time. This is a really great time to learn some time management techniques. And it's also a great time to readjust your time management techniques, because what may have worked for you 2 months ago when you were in a physical office and your kids were in school and this and that may not work for you now. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips to help you really take control of your time. And the other thing about time management is we're living in stressful times. And the more stress we're under, the harder it is to manage our time. And the harder it is to manage our time puts us under more stress. They are so related and connected that I'm going to talk about, because I don't have time to talk about both. I'm going to talk about time management today really briefly. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure you are setting goals. And I love what Marquesa said about the 12 weeks. So when you are setting your goals, I want you to set daily priorities and daily goals. But these daily priorities and daily goals must be connected to your weekly goals, your monthly goals, your 12-week goals, your yearly goals, your career goals. Make sure how you are spending your time every day is connected to your larger goals, your larger objectives for your life. So one great tip is to every day write down your top 5 priorities for that day. What are the top 5 things I need to get done, and rank them. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Also think about how much time you need to get that done. Can you really get them all done? What are the resources you need? What level of energy do you need to accomplish those? Be realistic. You want to set yourself up for success. One way you can also do this when you're thinking about your goals is to use what we call a time management matrix, right? It's 4 boxes. Things that are important and urgent, those are things you need to do first. Things that are important but not urgent, like perhaps my webinar next week, it's important, it's not urgent today, so I'm going to schedule some time for that. Things that are not important but urgent, these are things that are usually urgent for other people. Like my husband wants me to go help him move a couch so he can vacuum. Yes, he's vacuuming. You know, not really important to me. Urgent for him, he's going to have to wait on that. And of course, things that are not important or not urgent. And sometimes this is getting sidetracked into social media or TikTok or Twitter or whatever it is that you're doing. That's kind of like the time wasters. These we really need to eliminate as much as possible. So the end of the day, what you can also do is look back at how you spent your day and really put them into these boxes. And you can see, are you really spending your time on things that are important, or is your time getting sucked into things that are not important? And that's something you can look at. The next one I want you to do, and this is a game changer, people, is energy management. And if you email me, I'll send you a grid on this, and you can figure out what your peak energy is. So you want to be able to use your natural circadian rhythms to put your best energy towards your best projects. So once you discover when your energy is high, like I'm a morning person, I'm called a lark, then I know that I'm going to protect that time for the projects that I need to, that require the most mental capacity, the most concentration, the most creativity. And my energy is lower, that's when I'm going to do things like administrivia. That's when I'm going to help my husband move the couch. So discovering when your peak energy is and protecting it and using it wisely is a great time management strategy. Control distractions as much as you can. If you're working on intense tasks, turn off your notifications, turn off your emails. Negotiate with your family when you are working and when you can't be disturbed. And this is where it's going to require a lot of negotiation these days, but really do what you can to control your distractions in your environment. Time blocking is another great thing to do. time blocking works like this. You literally block out time for the projects that matter most. So you literally, like I am going from 1 to 4, I am working on my book. And then you make yourself do it and you turn off everything else. I love when you're talking about the book writing, he just had to sit down and do it. When I wrote my book, I time blocked it. I literally wrote like 4 hours a day, every day for 3 months to write my book. I hated it, but it worked. And my last tip for time management is yes, no, or negotiate. Learn to say no to priorities that do not suit your, certainly learn to say no to requests that do not align with your priorities. It does not make you an awful person. Sometimes you have to say, you know what, I can't bake cookies for that bake sale. You know what, I can't help you move the couch right now. So you want to really be clear about what you're saying yes to. And if you can't say yes to something, but you don't want to say no, then negotiate what you can do. You know, I can't help you move the couch right now, but if you wait till 2:30, I can do it then. Or, you know what, I can't help connect you to that person right now, but you know what, I think Dr. Sharon knows that person. She could connect you. So learn to really take control about your time by saying yes, no, or negotiating, being in choice and empowered about how you are using your time. So this is what it is. We want to take control of our virtual career by learning to manage up, managing down, managing across. We want to make sure that we are embodying and building our personal brand and that we are managing our time so that we can create what we want to create in our personal and professional lives. So take control of your virtual career, take control of your life. Here's my contact information.